Start over. Lex is gonna. He's pretty good at saying, "No, we're gonna start over," okay. And then we start that whole. I'm telling you, man.
As soon as I
right, as soon as we go inside, it's like, no, stop, and then we start that. But it's great. So I mean, I love it. You know what I'm saying? Boom. You know, so
as soon as it's going one way, cut it.
So you know.
Cut.
So, you know, we're back from the range.
Beautiful range.
Yes. It's another episode of Pause with your boy S. Lex Luger. So we have some special, very special guests coming at us today. We're going to be talking about it. Salud.
Cheers.
Yes.
We out here.
And
we outside.
We're outside, literally outside. In an undisclosed location in Charlotte. And we had a very, as we always do, post range,
pre and post
range conversation. And by the way, this was a Black Friday range day. And you know, Lex and I live here, but one of us is from a city that doesn't allow guns, doesn't want guns in their city.
Shameful.
It's not the Queen City, and it sure isn't. You know, where Rich is from, but it's where Chris is from.
Yep,
you know, still lives there. You know, he lives in Brooklyn, Bushwick. You know, but yo, talk to us about that. Bring us back to what we were talking about in the car.
So I told you a little bit ago. One of those things about guns, or my take on guns is, I want it for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I want the skill for myself, but I also understand that New York City can't allow guns. And even if they did, and even if it is, I think it is allowed. By the way,
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's legal to own a gun.
Extreme
But
circumstances.
the thing is, or business owners. But the thing is,
range,
it can't be a topic point, right? It can't be on the news. It can't they can't be it can't be what am I looking to say?
Publicized.
Yeah.
Glorified.
It can't be published. It can't be published news and stuff. Because if you tell the general mass, hey, by the way, you could own a gun. Now the general mass is gonna go out to get the guns. But if it's one of those things like a soft open, like when you open a business store, you don't do a grand opening. You just say, hey, by the way, we're open.
But there's a red line there in between before you can get a gun.
It is legal. It is, by the way, I believe it is legal to own a gun. It's just that the paperwork.
Yeah,
it's so tedious and it's so long. It takes forever.
It's legal. The only thing is that you have to prove that you need it.
Yes.
There is an evident danger towards yourself.
Yeah.
You perceive danger. You have to prove that danger in order for you to be able to get that gun.
Look, and it's also allowed for sports. So if you're allowed to carry between your house to the range and then back, but that's it.
New York State?
Yeah.
In New York State,
yeah.
Upstate New York.
Upstate.
But we're talking about the 5 boroughs: Brooklyn,
Yeah.
Staten Island, Queens.
Another thing that we have unique to us, not unique to us, but different from North Carolina, right? Different from Florida, is that we, on a regular basis, are in confined spaces. You know, we're constantly. If you think about where we live, there's a neighbor above us, to the east side of us, or under us. Not like here, where people are able to.
How does that differ from Chicago? Chicago, same tenements, same apartments. You know, granted, you always see shootings in Chicago, but that's because the media chooses to highlight that piece of it. But there's people that own guns in Chicago, Detroit, responsibly, no problem. I'm not sure of the head count in Chicago, and of course, you can go to the outskirts of Chicago and you'll see areas like North Carolina, but at the end of the day, like what we were discussing earlier, there's a city in Georgia, Kennesaw, Georgia, where, and granted, yes, that's more spread out as well. It's not New York; they're not on top of each other. But you can't buy a house unless you own a gun in that city, and the crime rate is zero. I mean, not zero, but so close to zero. You know,
it cancels it cancels itself out. Is what you're saying?
Basically, if you know everybody, law-abiding citizen owns a firearm in a particular city, are you gonna go there and try and do something? Right? You know, you know.
No, was there ever a point where New York City had
never. Probably
ability to just own a gun?
No, not to my recollection. I don't. No, don't get me wrong. There are New York City residents that legally own guns, but like you said earlier, it has to be extreme circumstances. You've been shot at several times. You're in the jewelry district, and your life is always in danger. But like you said, you have to go through all this type of paperwork. Meanwhile, you go upstate New York, and fine, you know, just a couple hours up the road, you go to Connecticut, you can own a gun. Now they have strict regulations there too. But you can own a gun at least to protect yourself. You know, I told you the story. It took 45 minutes here before police responded to an attempted burglary.
You know what happens in New York City? Another thing that happens, and I can tell you from my perspective, is like they do such a good job at like there's so much other stuff happening. I don't think about it. You know, like I loved it. I loved it today when we went out, but I will quickly forget this as soon as I touch down. You know what I'm saying? Like the last time I shot a gun was 6 years ago. That was my thing. That was my skill. I was like, oh, why didn't I learn about this sooner? You know, I want to own a gun, or I want to. But you get consumed, you know, day-to-day life, going to work, and then you forget, like, the gun stuff, the gun talk.
Here's
and advocacy.
The main important thing is it comes down to education.
Yes.
Right. We've been talking about it throughout the day today, and I think it comes down to proper education, understanding what gun ownership is about, right? Understanding the law, and understanding where your rights and your law in each individual states reside, right? New York City, like you're saying, because there's a density population that perhaps, like you're saying, you know, you're in closed, confined spaces and things like that. I don't know if that's necessarily usually the case. I think it's mostly the fact that the legislation has decided that this is the best way to control, you know, this particular part of the groups. And so while we still allow for you to have guns, and we still allow you to have weapons, we're going to put these confinements and we're going to put these other circumstances around it for you to own it. So it becomes more difficult. And so if someone like you comes down, and someone from Florida and other parts of the country see that we have these freedoms to not only exercise, you know, our ability to go out and enjoy ourselves like we did today. We had a great time, but also to become more aware, better, you know, smarter about what you're doing, and more educated, right? And at the end of the day, that's what it becomes about, because a more educated firearm owner is worth anybody who is not. Right. When you're aware of what your limitations are, your skills, right, and you start to fine tune that, then that's I think the important thing. And like you showed us today, you know, it comes down to education, training, having that muscle memory of being able to do these types of things. And unfortunately, like in a big population, it's hard to educate the masses in that way.
I'm going to circle back to something you said earlier with education, training, and repetitive. You know, you mentioned, you know, people have to get trained or some sort of training if they're going to drive a car. Right. I say that on purpose. 3 days ago, a man took a SUV and drove it through a parade and killed 5, actually now 6. The 6th person has died. Right? So he learned how to drive a car. He was allowed to buy a car.
A vehicle is a weapon.
License.
A vehicle is a weapon.
Well, it's a weapon. It becomes a weapon when you use it as a weapon. Right? This, you know, I could get a stick, I could get a branch and sharpen it. It's still a branch until I stab and maim somebody with it. Then it has become a weapon. But this man who was trained to drive a vehicle, a registered vehicle, licensed for a vehicle, he turned that vehicle into a weapon. So here's the thing. you're gonna have bad actors that take anything. They take a privilege or right, whatever it is, they could turn it into a weapon. And this is the thing that has to be we have to draw back from. We can't just look at guns in fear when guns actually have saved many lives. It just hasn't been blasted on the media to say
that's the other side.
That's the other side that's not highlighted, because guess what? That doesn't sell commercials. You know what sells commercials is fear. Is
kind of unique to New York, or different from North Carolina and Florida. Is that, like, look, to your point, where you said that you're able to protect someone else, or if you see something going on, like you can possibly protect someone else, right? In New York, where there's more chances of something like that happening than like in North Carolina. Here, you guys get in your car, go to where you're going, and then get from where you're going, you get in your car and you come back home. You understand what I'm saying? Right. There, we're foot traffic, so I'm much more likely to catch someone in the act of doing something. That means now I'm tempted to shoot someone to protect someone.
Right.
Yeah, even if I'm doing it with good intentions,
yes,
right?
Yes,
even if it's good, but I'm much more tempted to do something. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm already life and my day-to-day life puts me in a scenario where that temptation is going to exist.
I will say, classes like you run will always explain to you the differences of
not everybody's
of
going to
being
class.
able
That's
to.
another thing.
Well, that's where going back to our education.
For concealed classes.
No, I'm saying no. Even
you have to.
No, but even no. I'm not saying not everyone's going to take the class. What I'm saying is, and by the way, people will find a loophole. The defensive driving course. You think I ever sat down for 6 hours? But let's edit that one out. Not everyone's going to want to have a gun, right? Case in point, Mr. What's his name? Victor. Mr. Victor.
King Vic.
Yeah. So that means I did the class, I did everything, law-abiding citizen, I did all. Now, homeboy over here doesn't want to own a gun, but still wants to commit a crime. Now you're tempting me to shoot you.
Well, now, now,
or you're tempting me to.
This is where my education comes in, right? This is where what I teach my students, right? First of all, the 4 elements have to exist, okay, before you are able to lawfully use a firearm, use deadly force.
Of course, I'm saying everything lawfully as a law-abiding citizen.
Right.
No, I'm not saying I want to shoot you. I'm
Right.
just saying. You're tempting me if like
But
all these 4.
What he's saying, what he's gonna go into and break down is not just as simple as you seeing somebody holding a gun, doing something wrong.
Right.
Remember, we talked in the car: attitude, skills, education. Attitude, skills, or training, education. Skills used interchangeably with training, right?
Yeah.
You have to have the right mentality, first of all, to own a gun. You know, I watch thousands of videos, whether it be gun collection videos of people that got their first gun. And there's a guy, I forget his name, I'm sorry, I'll look it up. But he does parodies of first-time gun owners and what they do. And
I've seen them. How
they take pictures, they like this.
RDC World.
I think it might be. I think it might be.
We can edit that out.
We can leave that in because it's important for people to know. Like, people get guns because they think it's cool. Especially, it's even cooler for them, the mentality now, the attitude. I got this legally and I can own it. So now they have their chest is now. I was like, whoa, wow, I got a gun. I could do. That's where attitude.
That ego, yeah.
The attitude, the ego. Yeah. You know what? Hey, somebody cuts you off. All right, man. Maybe you're in a rush. Brooklyn is heavy. For you bump me. Well, of course. Okay. You said it. Foot traffic.
Yeah.
I might have bumped you. You have to have the right attitude, the right mentality, the right amount of humbleness. Like, all right, man. My students, I teach them retreat when you can. We're in North Carolina. There's no duty to retreat. But I spend literally 27, 30 minutes on why you should retreat. You could be with your family. You have the skill set. Your wife may not have it. Your daughter may not have it. You have to be the leader of that family. It's like, you know what? Let's walk away because you don't want to put them, he might not get you. You might get one of your loved ones.
Yeah.
Retreat when you can.
Yeah.
You know, we did some drills today. We shot out to 50 yards. But most things happen within 3 yards, 3 seconds, or 3 feet, 3 seconds, and I forget the other three movements or what have you. Most altercations happen. If you're more than 7 yards away from an altercation that you think might happen, you have room to retreat. You'll be like, no, I'm just gonna go.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go.
Okay, I hate that it sounds like I'm not level-headed. I am level-headed. And I wouldn't be quick to shoot or anything. I'm just saying, I know New York City, or I just know humans. It's not unique to New York City. There's also irresponsible North Carolinians.
It sure is. A lot of them.
Tennesseans. There's irresponsible everything, you know. But I'm just saying, we are put on our day-to-day in that scenario so often that like there's gonna be eggs cracked to make an omelet.
And to speak to that is.
By the way, I might be wrong with the RDC guy. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'll watch his videos.
If it is, I'll put a little note on the knee.
Yeah.
Not RDC, this guy.
Yeah.
So to speak to that, there's a level of the different stress with all New York City citizens than there is in other states that aren't as compact and as busy and as just really environmental stress
and a stigma.
So,
what's a stigma in New York? No, I know what a stigma is, but what is the New York City stigma?
And I'll put this in quotes. That we're known to pop off at a little.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I'll just keep it real.
I use the word temptation, but we talking the same language. We're talking the same language.
For the littlest things.
Yeah.
You stepped on my sneakers.
Yeah.
You gotta die.
What?
Editing that out.
So there is that point in which has to be paid attention to on the psychology of the day-to-day New Yorker who has to travel in a packed train, has to walk 3 miles to get to where they need to go. So the level of having yourself level-headed is minimized to such a degree that maybe there is a worry in allowing just any citizen in New York to have a firearm because of that environment in which you're living in that is already stressful within itself, and that's without having somebody pressing you or coming at you or directly trying to let me mess with you.